A few years ago, standing on the fragile edge between life and death in a hospital room, believing I was taking my last breath, I was met with a question that rose quietly between my heart and me. Did I live my life in kindness to myself? Did I live my life in love to myself? For decades, as founder of Women for Women International, my life was measured by how many women I helped rise from the ashes of war. Women like myself, whose homes and bodies were violated by violence's cruel hand. My sense of worth was tied to how many lives I rebuilt for others. Those closest to me often told me, Zainab, you are so hard on yourself. But I never listened. I was a woman on a mission, bound to my sister by shared sorrow and the stubborn hope of healing. I didn't know another way. Their smiles, their joy became the air I breathed until that near death moment, when my own heart suddenly asked, what if my kindness? What if my love to myself? Surviving that moment changed everything. But the lessons were slow, and I did not know what healing the self truly meant. Only through nature did I begin to understand. In conversation with Namonte Ninquemo, the visionary Amazonian leader who is a co founder of Sabo Alliance and Amazon Frontlines, I heard it said, our individual healing is interconnected to our ability to heal our relationship with nature. These words became embodied truth when challenging moments in life leaves us humbled, confused, and forced to listen to both the silence within and living earth around us. In my case, my most vulnerable moment revealed how disconnections from myself and from nature had taken roots in within me after being uprooted from my own home country, Iraq. After years of wars and exile, I returned to see my childhood home, which has transformed into a place of violence, an execution center, a brothel, a military base, leaving the garden which was once cherished with roses and orange trees. My father called it his second daughter, flattened by war. Nothing was left but a single persimmon tree, stripped bare, save one ripe fruit. Uprootedness, mind from home, the garden from itself felt inextricably linked. Two losses entangled in silent longing. This rift is everywhere. When asked the Palestinian peacemaker and founder of Women of the Sun, Reem al Hajajra, to take a photo in front of the Brooklyn Botanical Garden when she was getting an award, she refused. She didn't have the heart to take such photo when there are no gardens, no greens, no flowers in the refugee camps she lives in. She didn't have the heart to show her children what they do not have, flowers. Wars have erased even the right to beauty and nature. How do we ask children to marvel at trees when in Gaza and so many other wars, the garden lives only in memory or in dreams? For all my years among women uprooted by conflict, I noticed that economists, educators, politicians, humanitarian like myself, focus on poverty, schools, education, peace, yet nature has always been sidelined in peace building. This disconnection from the earth mirrors our fractured hearts and society. It is all one story. Only later did I realize what that absence meant, a deeper, quieter wound, a forgetting of our own longing, of our need for connections with ourselves, with each other, with the natural world, and with the divine in a new way. Career and success can anesthetize that ache until crisis strikes and nothing makes sense. Until standing frail, lost, and only comfort becomes the steady presence of trees, waiting in their silent wisdoms. In those hours, simply being, walking, meditating, breathing with the trees taught me that value is not earned, but inherent. My question of who am I if I can't do this or that, if I can't think or write or speak, or that disappeared, and a new answer arise from the wilderness of life. How dare you ask, who am I? I am. That is how nature is. That is how the divine is. Perhaps, perhaps that is how we can be too. All of this may sound esoteric, I know, but what if it is the most practical truth? What if transformation on earth begins here, in tuning to the earth's song, learning from our patience and abundance, allowing our relationship with nature to change our relationship within ourselves and each other? There's a saying in Arabic, sometimes you hate some of the things that are happening to you only to realize that the very loss brings you some good fortune and some new delight. I live to be grateful for encountering my death, for in this fall and that fall, I found my path back to nature and to my heart. And in gratitude, I co founded Daughters for Earth, a fund and a movement that finds, supports, and celebrates women led efforts to protect and restore the earth. And after supporting more than 220 women led initiatives in over 50 countries in just 3 years, the clarity emerged. Women everywhere are addressing climate change not with distance inventions, but with deep relationship to nature. Restoring rivers in Ecuador, protecting lions in Kenya, saving ancient seats in Nepal, shielding forests and endangered life across Indonesia. Their innovation is not technology first, it is relationship first. Respecting this soil, that water, this seed, that animal. Their results shows us the way. Just protecting and restoring nature impacts climate solutions by up to 37%. That is what the scientists say and the women demonstrating that. What is becoming clear through initial data that their approaches are rooted in wisdom, humility, and care, not domination, not ego, not separation. These women are shifting behavior patterns in their own communities and bringing about regenerative economic systems, all while anchoring in their relationship with nature. This is not just nothing. They are showing us what true healing and resilience looks like. They are showing us a path forward for how we need to deal with a new reality on Earth, one that is defined by climate change and the loss of biodiversity. No matter how much we try right now, we are still defined by this reality in the future, even if we try to give it our all, which we're not. We humans in this era of artificial intelligence and cosmic ambitions cannot solve this existential crisis we face through intellect alone. We cannot out invent our way out of this rupture within ourselves and between us and the natural world. We must learn how to hear the earth's melody once more, a song that reconnects us to our hearts, to nature, and to one another. It is in that music we may find not only solutions but joy beyond our dreams. I am a testament of that. Now I understand why my mother said when I was a child in Iraq, watch the birds, honey, she would tell me, picking persimmons. They know when the fruits are ripe. And only then can you harvest it, can you pick it up. Our garden is gone. My mother is gone too. But it is never too late to plant new seeds between the trees, myself, ourselves, and every bird out there. As a matter of fact, as one Guatemalan indigenous leader said, there's no better time to plant the seeds for the future than this time. After all, we can only plant seeds in the darkness of the soil and perhaps in what feels like darkness of our time. It is time to plant new seeds for new relationships with nature. After decades of fighting for women's rights, I really do not claim that women are superior over men nor men over women. But I see how women and all the daughters for earth are listening to the unseen through their hearts. They're listening to the whales singing, they're listening to earth's song and becoming pathfinders for a new relationship between humanity and all life. If trauma or care ripple from home outward into society, including our relationships with the environment, the rebuilding our families and finances and communities and economies in care, equity, and connection to nature is not just political. It is survival. And it takes partnership, not domination, to guide every system we hold dear. There is no other way of being.